Recording in progress. All right, so second half, we'll finish up demoing the glass in the exterior and then move on to the interior. So we talk about our making glass checklist, which I sent to everybody in an FSO message, and I also uploaded to Discord. So hopefully everybody got that. So we're going to apply it one more time for the bottle, for our wine bottle. All right, now for the wine bottle, there's a couple things you need to do. And one of them is in the instructions in FSO. So let me go back to Maya. Let's go to the instructions here. So for the glass, we're doing the exterior. So we did the wine glass, we did the wine geometry inside the glass. Wine bottle's empty. We need to place the wine label on a display layer and turn off visibility. The reason we're doing that is because we don't need that. Basically, it's a big giant cylinder blocking the wine bottle. However, we will need that geometry if you decide you want to do this for Project 7, because we're going to slap a wine label on that wine. So we need the geometry, but just not for the material stage. So select the geometry. You guys shouldn't know how to make display layers from modeling. All you do is go to the channel box, layer editor, click the far right icon, which will create a layer, and whatever you have selected, it will get dumped on that layer. And let's just label this wine label. Hit save, and I can turn off visibility. There we go. Let's save. Let me cancel that. Yeah, no, I don't want to cancel. Or I mean, I do want to cancel. Oh, yeah, you know what I forgot to do? I forgot to save as. Oof. All right, and this is lecture 7. All right. There we go. Good. Okay, so crisis averted. Let me get rid of a bunch of these renders here, because that's only going to slow up Arnold. Let's stop that. All right, and let's close this. I got too much going on there. Okay, so we're all set now. We placed our geometry on a new display layer, turned off visibility. Now we need to make sure that we find some reference for our glass bottle. And the bottle needs to have color. Can't be clear. I know there's a lot of wine bottles out there that are clear, or maybe they're tinted a little bit on the blue or the green side, but this needs to be a color. So, one quick second. Okay, so first, let's go back to our checklist. So find reference. Top at the list. So let's see. Wine bottle. And let's make sure it's empty. There we go. Wait, how did that get empty in there? Empty wine bottle outside. Don't forget tools, size, large, good. All right, so some of my favorite references, stuff like this, where there's a bunch of bottles sitting outside on a table, somebody took a picture. The reason I like that is because I got 3 different colors I can choose from. I've got really dark amber, I've got kind of an average green, and I've got sort of a pea green, green bluish color. Or think of it as light amber, however you want to look at it. But those are pretty good representations of most of the bottles that are out there. Yeah, I know there's blue bottles. They're not that prominent. I mean, probably the most popular wine bottles are going to be the green or the amber colors. And remember, our wine is only in the glass, the bottle is empty. So it depends on which one I want. I like this one. So let's save that. Throw that on the desktop. All right, so found reference. Let's assign a new AI standard surface. Bottle selected, Shift T, Arnold shader, AI standard surface. Rename as you go. Don't do what I do and forget. So wine bottle. Okay, wine bottle. Good. Let's render. Super bright white. No worries. Let's follow the list. First, turn off the base weight. So base weight for that material. Should turn it black. Spec weight and color are default. The weight's 1, the color's white. I'm going to turn the roughness down. Let's go 0.01. It's kind of like my 0.01, maybe 0.02, maybe wine bottles are a little bit rougher. So where's my reference at? Right here. All right, yeah, some of those wine bottles are not perfectly smooth. So that's all right. So I'll make this one 0.02. That's going to be not too much. I could always raise it later on. All right. And I want to go down and do the specular roughness, but I can't do, or sorry, transmission roughness, but I can't do that till I turn it up. All right, so index of refraction under specular, it's at 1.5. It's perfect because that's exactly what we want, glass. Let's go turn up transmission, and we should have a clear bottle. Yay! However, look what happens when we turn up the transmission weight. We get no shadow. So now that I've turned up the weight, the rest of the transmission attributes are activated. So I can kind of crank up the transmission extra roughness. It's kind of like supersize me. Just to add a little bit of extra roughness in there. All right, so here we go. This lack of a shadow is exactly why we're going to do the steps to get a shadow, which means we go under transmission weight. We click the checker button. That's an input button, brings up the create render node. What do we want to do here? Somebody walk me through it. All right, so, but where do I find a gamma correct at? I don't see it in my list. Right, so we got to go under utilities, and we want to go under G for gamma correct. There we go. So now I've got my connection editor. What do I do? All right, so on the left side, out value. All right, I need to kind of kick it down. Okay, out value X on the left side to transmission on the right side. Now we're back to where we were. We got a solid black, but that's all right. So now we do some voodoo inside here. What do we do? Okay, so we put the X gamma at 4, Y and Z are both at 0. Perfect. Just kind of cranking up that X value. Now what? All right, so we're here, we did that. Now we go down here. In value, we need to plug in a Maya sampler info utility. So gamma correct value. This is where we click the checker button for value. That brings up again the create render node. What are we doing here? Yep. So we want utilities. We go down to the S's. And we want sampler info, which happens to be the very first one. All right, so now I click on that. That brings up again the connection editor because there's a lot of connections that can be made in this sampler info. We just need to tell it which ones we want to use. All right, so under outputs, which is on the left side, we want facing ratio. That means whatever the cameras are looking at, we want it to sample that surface from that angle, from that direction. So now on the right side under inputs, we want to expand the value, which is grayed out, and we want to select X value. As soon as we do that, we should get our shadow. And there we go. Now, if this, again, doesn't work, seems confusing, go back, retrace your steps. Be really thorough. You got to be detail oriented. All right, so we did that. Next, what's left? Transmission color. Everybody's next to favorite, next to attendance. Transmission color. So transmission color goes, make sure you select the surface, get the right AI standard, go under transmission color. What's the quickest way to get the color in there? Color picker. There we go. I think what I want to use is the advanced color picker, which means instead of clicking once in the swatch, you double click. And that should bring up the free floating color picker. Now, sometimes it likes to hide behind other Maya windows. So just make sure, you might need to move your windows around to find it. So under the color wheel section, there's an image tab. Let's load in the new reference we downloaded. Empty bottles in the sun, kind of like that. So we got a choice. Which one should be our color? Which one? So this green or kind of the pea olive green? This one. Okay, yeah. So let's do that. And let's load that in. And let's sample. So let's find an area that's not too bright. Or too dark. Now, a couple of the issues you're going to see is, as I'm sampling it, take a look at what my value is down here. When you're dealing with glass, a lot of times we try to keep the value as close to 1 as possible, because this looks a whole lot darker than my reference. So let me just click done, because I can use the simple color picker for this. So I'm going to go and let me crank up my value closer to 1. All right, so there's my bottle. Looks a little bit off, looks a little kind of saturated. So let's grab that. Well, so it looks a little bit more towards the yellow than I really think it needs to be. So let's pull it into the green a little bit more. Don't be afraid of, after you sample your color, of adjusting it. You're the artist, right? Does it need to look more yellow? Does it need to look more pure green? So drag the hue around, keep the value level fairly high, and then adjust the saturation. That's going to be how dominant that color is. So it could be really super dominant. And when I sampled it, it was somewhere around 0.5 or 0.4. That's a little on the saturated side. So let me kind of dial it down to 0.4 and see what that looks like. I'm just trying to compare it with my reference. Okay, not bad. Let's try, I don't know, 3.5, see how that looks. Again, I can come back, adjust the hue a little bit. All right, so you just want to try and dial it in as close as you can. All right, does that make sense? Questions?
I'm good.
Okay. All right, thank you, Gaetano.
Sense.
Makes sense.
Okay. All right, so taking a look at it, it's not bad. All right, now let's go look. One last thing. Let's check our render settings. Let me stop this. So I've already got a render of, which is good. Let's save before anything evil happens, because after all, remember, it is Maya. Part of evil. All right. Render settings. Let's see what we got going on here. All right, so we've got the default sampling. We're interested in the ray depth section. So right now we've got transmission set to 8, which will basically allow us to see through the wine, the glass, and a couple of surfaces of the bottle, but not through to the back of the bottle. All right, so let's just take a look at what happens if I lower the transmission to 4. The reason I'm doing that is I want to see, you can really get a good idea of what happens after it hits 4 surfaces. So the default is 8, right? But if I limit my transmission to 4, after 4, it stops dead, and now I've got a black hole. Notice the wine turns all black because it's got the 2 surfaces of the front of the glass, 2 for the bottle or for the liquid inside, but after the liquid, everything turns black. All right, so if I do 6, there we go. I can see through, I can see the wine color, but I still can't see through behind the bottle. Let's do 8. 8 lets me see through to the bottle, but I'm really not seeing all the way through the wine and the bottle. So this is where we change transmission to 10. And we have to increase our total to 12 in this instance. Now, for me, I'm going to also kick in one more specular ray, just to kind of add a little more sparkle in there. All right, now, one other thing that I need to check is, let's go back and check our material here. So for the wine bottle, we did not go down under advanced. So that's right after transmission color. So under advanced, we need to turn on caustics. Let's turn on caustics and increase our indirect specular to 1.1. All right, now, if that looks a little too much, we can always dial down the indirect specular to 1 again. If it looks too bright, it's good for the glass, it's good for the wine, but the wine bottle really looked artificial. All right. So I would say for most of your glass, that indirect specular is going to help a lot. But for something like this wine bottle, since we cranked up the specular in the render settings, and with caustics on, it just became way too bright. It became bright. It really didn't brighten our shadow all that much either. And that's when it starts to look artificial. Now, for clear glass, absolutely need that indirect specular. For the dark red wine, we absolutely needed it. But for that green bottle, it really, that color, because there's a lot of warm color in the sunlight, that is also going to, remember, be additive. All right, does that make sense? Questions?
I'm good for now.
Good. All right. Thank you. All right. Questions about the exterior scene? All right. Let's take a look at the interior So I'm going to set my project because it's a different project folder. Let's set it to the interior. And let's open up. Oh, we'll do day also. Do the living room. There we go. Now, this process goes for day and night. It's going to be a lot more noticeable during the day, which is why I want to demo the day. But the nighttime, you know, it's still going to affect if you can see out the windows or not. So first thing I want to do, let's save as, so I don't forget like I did last time. And this is lecture 7. Let's take a quick render, make sure everything works. All right, good. I got my image outside the window. Perfect. Let's stop that. And let's take a look at the directions in FSO. When in doubt, read the directions. I know, what a novel idea. All right, so for the interior, we need to turn on visibility in the window glass display layer. All right, so remember, display layer is under the layer manager or the layer editor, and that's always paired or usually paired with the channel box. I'm going to go into perspectives. And let's turn visibility on. So again, single-sided, so I can see that it's really blocking outside. Now, there are 4 pieces of glass, 2 for the windows that are visible in the camera. There's 1 in the door. That's a big fat door window right here. And also 1 in the back in the kitchen. So as soon as you turn all that on, guess what happens to your lighting? Well, it should look like that. Let's close Arnold. Open it again. And actually, oh, come on, Arnold, really? You're fired, go away. There we go. So again, if you turn visibility on for your glass, you hit the render button, it doesn't show that it's on. Close Arnold, or not close Arnold, but close the Arnold render view, open it again and re-render. So what's going on is the windows are now blocking all the dome light energy and the sunlight. So we are going to use roughly the same process for making glass for the windows that we did for the exterior, except we don't need to worry about shadows. That's the good news. So easiest way to select all the window geometry is in the layer editor. If you go on top of the layer, right click and select objects. Let's go to wireframe. You can kind of see they are there. They're just kind of hidden a little. There we go. So they're all selected. Then assign a new AI standard surface. We need to have a separate glass. So window, I'm just going to call them glass panes.
Wait, can you repeat that one more time? So you go to the layer and then select objects.
Yep. You go to the layer editor, right click on top of the layer and select objects. That will select all the geometry for the glass because they're all in different layers. You can also do it going in here, but you're going to be going into multiple groups inside the main group. This way you select them all because they're already in a layer, a display layer. Select them all, assign the new AI standard surface to it, and we'll use the default settings. It's not going to look any different, but now we've got the ability to make it glass. So, base weight off, that's pretty simple. Let's just render while we're doing this. So glass panes got the right geometry. Turn the base weight off. Specular weight's at 1 already. Colors white. Roughness, we'll leave it that way. We'll leave roughness like that for now. Index of refraction, it is glass. Perfect. Since these are glass panes, the only thing we have to do is crank up the transmission weight. Now, once we do that, we get our light back, but what do you notice about the windows? Say again? Yeah, we're missing the dome light image, and that's because, let's look here. The non-visible dome light attributes have transmission turned on under visibility, which means that dome light with no image in glass is showing white. So to change that, all we do is go under our, I like to use my outliner, non-visible dome light, select it. Don't forget there's visibility, just like there is in any light. So scroll down to visibility, and it's under the transmission section. Turn that to 0. So now, go ahead, say that again. Yes, because if you don't, you're just going to have actually, no, it won't be the same for the night because you're not using 2 dome lights. Single dome light, you don't have to worry about this. With double dome lights, you do, because the one that's not visible will show through in the transmission. That make sense? Yeah, I'm glad you asked that. Good question. So again, Kayvon said that, hey, under the night scene, do I have to worry about it? The answer is no, because you only have a dome light with an HDR. You don't have a non-visible dome light at night. Now, with that done, we need to go back to our material. So to get to the material again, I'm going to select my objects. I'm going to right-click on my display layer, select them. Let's go under the attribute editor. There we go. One other thing we need to do, right now we are getting refraction in our glass windows. Can't really see a whole lot. In fact, let me turn down my roughness. There we go. So right now, you can see we have reflections in the windows, but we've also got refraction in the windows. We want this glass to show us transparency, show us reflections, but not give us refraction. We don't need to calculate it because when we look outside windows, we don't see refraction. All we do is see, clear glass. We see maybe some reflections of the inside, but we can see through. So we can skip all the connection stuff that we did when we were trying to make shadows. We want the transmission color to be white. We want clear glass. We want to go under geometry. And let me save this. We want to go under geometry in the glass pane material. And we want to turn on what's called thin walled. Now, as soon as we do that, we stop calculating refraction. There it is before, here it is after. You can see it's refracted quite a bit. Now, we don't have to worry about turning caustics on because we really don't want to see caustics. We don't really have to worry about cranking up the indirect specular for glass. Well, for the glass windows, I should say. But now we've got some reflections of our environment in the room. You're actually going to see more at night also. Yes. From back here, yes. And we're also probably seeing a little bit from the ground. That really bright area on the carpet, or just the floor. But yeah, we are seeing some of that from the back window too. And since it's pretty bright sunny day, that's going to show up as kind of a blown out reflection. What scene are you doing, Gaetano?
I'm also doing the same scene. When I went into the, what was it? The non-visible, and I changed the setting.
What setting did you change?
Did you say lower transmission to 0?
So for the dome light, yes. Visibility, no, visibility. Transmission 0.
Yeah.
Make sure that you didn't turn the transmission weight to 0.
I went to visibility and turned transmission to 0, and the AI sky dome light non-visible.
And is your image in there?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know, when I did render, whenever I tried rendering that, like the whole render is just black.
Okay. Try stopping your render, closing the render view, open it, render again. See if you still get it. If you're still having issues, when we get done at the end, I'll give you a hand troubleshooting.
Yeah, it's still doing it. All right, thank you.
Okay. All right, so. Any questions about the glass for the window so far? Anybody else having issues? All right, now. Yes. I don't like it. I hate it. Only because I want to choose when I want to save, not when I'm in the middle of doing something crucial. Have it try to save on me. So yeah, but I personally prefer, as I'm working, if I think I've hit a milestone, save. Just Command S. I'm just not a fan of autosave. Only because I have used autosave in the past, and I've had Maya crash right before autosave when I was about to save. So, like I said, I don't trust Maya. So I'm just not a big fan of autosave functions. Now you may go somewhere and work and everything's autosaved and you don't have a choice. Okay, great. If you're on their clock and if it goes wrong, it's not your fault. But for my personal work, I want to choose when I save. And also incremental saves, I'd rather rename them myself, because in Maya, you can have like 50 or 60 incremental saves. And when it reaches that limit, it'll start over and overwrite the stuff at the beginning. And I'd rather just choose when to save and also which version I want. So if I usually try and do a version like at least once or twice during a session. If I open a new session, I'll start and I'll do a save as, and that way I've got a copy of the last good session and I can start on top of it. But like I said, that's just me. You may talk to other people who are like, yeah, it's the greatest thing ever. So, you know, take what I'm saying with a grain of salt. Whatever works for you, basically. What's that? Yeah, the trouble is, suppose you do something important before the hour is up, like in 20 minutes, and, you know, it just make a sticky for yourself somewhere, a sticky note, and just like put up and go save often, every 20 minutes. Put the timer on your phone. Everybody does that, everybody. But, you know, after a while, once you get used to saving yourself, you can go, oh yeah, I just did that, I better save. So, yep, like I said, my personal opinion. All right, let's see, what do we got here? Ooh, let's lower this a whole bunch. How's that? That all looks default. That's good. Do I have? Yes, I do. Let's get rid of this. Remove that imager. In fact, let's save since I just did that. Ah, much quicker. Good. Okay. All right, now let's focus on a couple. Well, let's focus on at least an object on the table in the front here, or not the table in the front, but the table on where the computer is. All right, so we've got a bottle here. And let's take a look at that bottle a little closer in perspective. So this bottle is called a Klein bottle. Klein bottle it's kind of a weird inverted type of bottle. It's got a neck that goes through the body and you fill from the bottom. It goes up, comes down into the body of the Klein bottle. So if you've never seen one of these, they are actually all over the internet. So Klein bottles, yeah, there's happy Klein bottle owner right there. So there are all kinds of variations. This is the typical kind of average Klein bottle. You fill from the bottom, the neck goes through the body, exits the body. On the outside, sort of turns into a handle, and it fills. Now, for the longest time, this was a theoretical math shape. And early glass blowers were not able to do this because just the complexity of it. If anybody's ever seen glass being made, you get molten glass on the end of a big long tube, you blow it, you shape it, you blow it, you shape it. It's not easy to shove, you know, a neck into the body and have it come out and still be intact. Now, there are glass blowers who specialize in doing this, and it's really become an art form. But injection molding is what really made it accessible for us to get and have it be affordable. I don't know how affordable they are. I think they're like $5, $10 for a plastic one. But definitely an interesting party piece. You know, you have a party, hand somebody one, hey, here's your beverage. have them try and figure out how to get it out. And they do actually make bendy straws, big, long, bendy straws you can just kind of put in and get into the bottle and you can drink. However, cleaning it is another issue also. Unless you've got some kind of water jet system, suction system, it's going to be really hard. But interesting, kind of fun piece. So there are all kinds of variations on it. In fact, one of my students a couple of months ago found a users group for Klein bottle people. So it's like anything, you have this little kind of cult following for people that are interested in, you know, non-average objects. So anyway, that Klein bottle represents kind of an interesting enigma for us because how many surfaces does a ray have to go through in the Klein bottle? Now, a normal bottle, it's got an interior or a normal vessel of some kind. You know, it's got 1, it's got 2, it's got 3, it's got 4. Right? But a Klein bottle has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So the Klein bottle all by itself has 8 surfaces for a ray to go through, because we have to see through the body, through to the other side. Does that make sense? Now, let's take a look at the rest of the objects in our scene. And also, let's take a look at the requirements here in FSO. All right, so we've got window glass, which we already did. There's a vase on the shelf above the TV. That vase needs to be clear glass. There's an hourglass bottle on the shelf underneath of it. So let's go back to Maya. Where are you, Maya? Come back here. There we are. So here's our vase up here. That needs to be clear glass. Clear glass. Come on. There we go. Here's the hourglass bottle. Hourglass bottle needs to be color. The rectangle bottle, which is next to the sofa, needs to be color, and so does the Klein bottle. Different color glass from each other. All right, now, how many surfaces does a ray have to go through here? Okay, normally I would say 4. However, take a look at the lip of the bottle. You got this little area right here. So you've got kind of a mushroom lip on the bottle where it kind of folds over on itself. Right there. That little bit right there means there is also 8. So we got 4, we got 4, 4 and 4 on each side. All right, that rectangular bottle right here. How many surfaces for this one? Yeah, this one would be just 4. It's pretty simple bottle. There's no tricks on this one, no weird things going on. All right, there is a wine glass here, and there is wine inside the glass. So let's take a look at it from the camera. Here's the living room. And you can barely see that glass over top of the pillow right here, but it is visible. All right, so the vase is clear. That's the one above the TV. The hourglass is above the TV. That will be color. Rectangle bottle will be color. Klein bottle will be color. The wine glass will be clear. You need to have some wine in the glass, your choice. It's going to be the same process we did for the outside. What's that? Yep, right here in the instructions. When in doubt, take a look at the instructions. There's the interior. It's under the Lecture 7 refraction milestone. This will list all the stuff you need to make sure that you catch. All right, so Klein bottle, that's kind of what we were going to play around with. So let's frame that up. And let's start by making this glass. So first thing you want to do, let's find some reference. Always start off with a good reference party. And let's look for colored glass bottles. Tools, I want large so I can have some good reference. No, don't take me to another website. All right, avoid bottles with lights inside of them. We're not doing that. Avoid bottles that have been painted. There's another one. We're not interested in painting. We're interested in actual color. So if you can, try to find some glass bottles. You know, I like to find a reference image with various colors. So that's not bad, but I don't think that's inside. That looks more like it's outside, sitting on a table. Make sure there's nothing in them. There's no decals on them. That's not too bad. Trouble is, we don't have this crack style that really, I mean, that's got a lot of roughness on that glass. So try to find glass that's relatively smooth for this exercise. And remember, we don't want reference that's got pure white background. Colored glass bottles. So that is possible to use this. Looks like somebody took a picture in their garage with it. This one, not too bad. They all have white backgrounds. This one's not bad. This is really kind of old time glass. This is aged glass. So you can see the roughness level is really pretty high. However, you do have this dark amberish orange color. You got blue, you got green. That's possible to use. Colored glass bottles. Let's try one on a window. All right, so that's a pretty decent shot. I mean, it's got amber, it's got green, it's got blue, it's got kind of yellowy, orangey colors too. Again, you want to avoid bottles that have liquid inside. Ours have no liquid. And you want to have some with some decent lighting would be nice. No, I don't want to go to your website. This is outside. Not bad, but we're not outside. That's okay. Again, it looks like it's outside. We want ours to be inside. So there's a possibility right here. Definitely get an idea of what they look like. So let's go with this one. See what we can do. Save image. So we got a few different colors. So we've got reference. Assign a brand new AI standard surface, Shift T. Going to rename this Klein bottle. Let's save. Base weight off. Let's do a quick render. And I'm going to zero in and just render this little section right here. All right, so first thing, base weight off. Specular weight, specular color, going to be default. Roughness for now. Going to turn it off. Index of refraction, 1.5. It is glass. And transmission weight goes all the way up. So now we've got clear glass, but we don't have any shadows. So we need to do shadows. Don't forget to do shadows. Somebody walk me through it. Got transmission on there, but I got no shadows. Anybody?
Well, good.
Yep, we're going to transmission weight. Yep, that's basically an input button. So we're transmission weight, click the input button. Now we're in the create render node window. All right, utilities, and we're going to gamma correct on the right. So now we got the connection editor. Looks scary, but it's not really that scary. The only thing you have to worry about is under gamma correct, what do we need to do? Okay, so out value X on the left side under outputs, inputs, transmission. We're back to black, but that's okay. This is a process. First gamma to 4. All right, so it's X at 4, Y and Z at 0. Value, input button. Utilities. Yep, sampler info. So SA right here, sampler info, that brings up connection editor. Facing ratio for the sampler info. Expand value right here. Value X, and now we've got glass with a shadow. Good. Excellent. Thank you, Kayvon. All right, so almost there. Let's go back to our material. So we did all that transmission color. So this is where I'm going to double click on transmission color, bring up my advanced color picker. I'm going to load in the reference I just took off the internet. And let's pick a color. We did green already. Yeah, this one? Yeah, I was just thinking of that. Let's try that. So let's do the orange. I'm just going to sample it. All right, so sampled. Going to hit done for now. Let's go down under advanced. We need to turn on caustics. And we want to boost that indirect to 1.1. So now you can see we're throwing a lot of shadow here. Doesn't look too bad. Let's go down, take a look at, or let's go take a look under render settings at what our sampling looks like and our ray depths. All right, so sampling, that's not too bad. You know what? Let's crank it up. And don't forget, if it gets really noisy, in specular and transmission can crank them up also. But for now, I'm just kind of cranking this up to try and get rid of some noise. You can see it's really taking quite a bit of time, but much better. I can see it a little bit better. Let's keep that. So now transmission, I've got 8. 8 is pretty good. It's given me you know, basically it's allowing me to see through that, but it looks really dark on the opposite side. So I'm going to throw in an extra specular. And that's going to change my total to 11. Come on, you can do it. I believe in you. All right, so a little bit of extra specular kind of helps. It is dark behind that bottle because there's a shadow from the computer back there. But let's compare it to my reference. How did we do as far as color goes? No, it doesn't look like I have that open, so let's open that up. So as far as color, not too bad. My bottle certainly looks a little rougher than what I've got there. That's all really nice and shiny. That bottle's pretty old. So let's give this a little more roughness than we had in the past. So let's go under specular roughness. Let's try 0.1. And also let's go under transmission and turn the extra roughness to 0.1 also. The idea is we're just trying to get those reflections to be a little bit rougher, so it kind of reflects an older, aged, or dirtier bottle. So I don't know, we might be able to go a little bit more. Let's keep this. Let's see what it looks like with the default of 0.2. Let's see how that compares. So remember, the rougher the bottle, the harder it's going to be to see through. It's going to look almost filmy. All right, so here is no roughness. Here's 0.1, and then this is 0.2. So it all depends on which one we think matches our reference better. You're the artist, you need to kind of make that call. So 0.2, 0.1, or none. Well, I vote for not using no roughness because that just looks too perfect compared to our reference. 0.1, 0.2, 0.2 kind of looks a little closer to our reference. Maybe dial it down, maybe 0.15 instead, if I think it's a little too much. No, not 1, 0.15. There we go. All right, questions? Does that make sense? Yes. Give me an example. Right? Yes, you need to follow that reference because that's what you're going to put in your collage, and that's what we're going to compare your reference to your render. And the idea is you want to try and get as close as you can. So follow the reference, yes. And me, I'm just trying a couple different settings so I can see, you know, which one I think might work better with the reference. So basically there's 0.1, 0.15, 0.2. Like what? As long as it looks unified in, like, are you using one reference with multiple objects in it? Well, here's the thing about the color picker. Don't forget, with the color picker, just because you sample it, it doesn't necessarily mean with your lighting and the color temperature of your lights that it matches. So your job is to adjust the hue, the saturation, and value of your color once you've picked it in your render to see if you can get it closer to what you see in your reference. If you're going to lighten it a little, it's probably okay, but if you lighten it too much, it's not going to match your reference. So I would suggest, if it comes down to the point where you're not sure, try and find reference that's closer to the color you want. Does that make sense? Yeah, that's a good question. Okay, Julio, no problem. Hope all is well. Sorry to hear that. Okay. So, any questions about anything we went over so far?
I'm all good for now.
Okay. Thank you, Nelson. All right. Any questions about generally making glass or any of the stuff we went over? Go ahead, Nate. I sent you a message with it. I'm not going to post it on Discord until tomorrow because technically you guys are campus students. You get it first, and online doesn't get it at the same time. Now, once I'm done with this, they can watch the video and take a screenshot if they want, but you guys get the benefit of me sending you a screenshot right now. Does that make sense? Yeah, no, I probably will put it on Discord tomorrow. If anybody asks, but I generally hasn't really been an issue because people can, I mean, if you're watching it in HD, you can just stop it and take a screen. All right. So no questions. So let's treat the end of this kind of like a lab. We'll work until 5 o'clock, and you guys can go to lunch. If you have questions, let me know. Gaetano, give me a couple of minutes, and then I'll let you share your screen. All right, so I'm going to stop the recording.